Good morning and welcome, everyone. If you're on your feet, you can remain standing. We're going to kick off this morning with the Pledge of Allegiance, and I have John Steele. He is the quartermaster here at the VFW, Post 7570, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
One thing I'd like to ask you to sound off like you mean it.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you and everyone here at the VFW for your service. Please remember our friends at the VFW, especially with Veterans Day coming up November 11th. The folks here at the VFW have always been so accommodating with our events for the Chamber, and we greatly appreciate them. My name is Sara Cullin. I'm the Executive Director for Greater Harrison Chamber. I'm glad to have you all with us this morning. I hope you were able to get some delicious breakfast from Nick's Catering, Nick's Restaurant. If you happen to be in there, make sure that you tell them you enjoyed the chamber breakfast. I also want to mention Apparel Master, a Harrison-based business who donated the use of our linens this morning, and I greatly appreciate collaborations like that. I want to thank our State of the Community supporters. Those are noted on the tabletop signs around the room. And if you are a State of the Community supporter, please make sure that you take your signage and your moms with you to this morning. I also want to mention volunteers who have been helpful to putting this event together in various ways. We have Gary Ellerhorst from Crown Plastics, who couldn't be here with us this morning. We have Sandy Davis-Skeen at Capital Concepts, and Sue Dermody from DWA Recreation, and Mark Hildebrand with FCN Bank. Thank you all for your contributions. At this time, I want to make a few introductions of folks in the room who aren't necessarily speaking this morning, but they are elected or represent our elected officials, and you may want to know who they are. So we have Joe Abner from U.S. Senator J.D. Vance's office. Many of you will know Joe because he used to work for Steve Shabbat. We have Mike Robison from U.S. Congressman Davidson's office. We have City of Harrison Council members, Ray Akra. I'm not sure if Ray made it in this morning. We have Mike Maines, Ryan Samuels, Gene Wilson, and Jerry Wilson. Thank you all for being here. We also have many members of the City of Harrison staff. We have Police Chief Charles Lindsay. We have our Fire Chief Rob Hersong, Finance Director Kim Downey, Streets Director Jim Leslie. We have the city's new Economic Development Director Matt Eisenbraun, and Economic Development Building and Zoning Coordinator Joette Greiwe. Thank you all for being here. Now at this time I'd like to introduce Mark Hildebrand with FCN Bank. He is our 2023 Board of Directors. He's our chairman of the Chamber Board of Directors. Mark.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning. I'm sure the only thing you want to listen to more than politicians is a banker, so I'll be up here for as long as I can. We'd like to thank everyone for advocating for businesses, and that's a strategic pillar of the Greater Harrison Chamber of Commerce. We're here to champion smart development that contributes to the growth and prosperity of not only our businesses, but our community. As our community grows, I think our businesses grow, and that's been our goal. We're the link between local business owners and legislators at the state and federal level. We're the eyes and ears and the voice of the local businesses at all levels. We're glad to bring back our annual legislators breakfast that took a hiatus during the wake of COVID. We've never stopped advocating for businesses, though. We've introduced more benefits than ever. We've continuously added new programs that help our chamber members cut costs, fill jobs, and gain visibility. Our chamber's first executive director, Sara, who was the chairman before she became the executive director, has collaborated with members throughout our first year to provide a high level of value of personalization, which has been one of the things we've talked about is, as a chamber, we want to continue to add value for our members. We're able to do some things for the smaller businesses and all businesses that when we work together, we're able to grow. As we wrap up our 10th year, we're calling on our members, which is now 217, and prospective members in the business community to join us in advocating for growth and prosperity. The work is needed more than ever. We have several ways to get involved, whether it's an ambassador, a board member, or pitching in to help at events like this. We're introducing a new way to contribute to the cause in 2024. Our Sustaining Partnership Program will make it possible for us to continue serving the business community with a high level of service. Please ask myself or Sarah if you have any interest in getting involved in any capacity. Now, I'd like to point out some members in attendance who have been involved this year. Please stand and be recognized. First, we have our ambassadors, Cindy Westerfeld with FCN Bank. She's the branch manager here at our Harrison location. Rita Lozenkamp, she's a realtor with Keller Williams. Julie Enderhees, and she's a realtor with Heart for Homes Realty. And serving with us, with myself on the board this year, is Rob Means, who's not able to join us this morning. He's the president of Harrison Building and Loan. Jamie Mather, she's the business manager with Casey Storage. Jolene Winter, she is the owner and director of Brater-Winter Funeral Home. And lastly, Joe Moss, he is an owner of JTM. And I'd like to give a special thank you to Joe. This will be his last year serving with us on the board. He was a founding member, and I can safely say we would not be in the position we are now as a community or as a chamber without Joe's help. So a special thank you to Joe. Now, Mr. Mayor, Bill Neyer, would you like to come up and speak? Thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming this morning and Chamber for inviting me to speak. Like to give an update on the city over the past year. So the city's had an outstanding 2023 and continues on that path. The residential and commercial growth has been exceeding what we have seen in the past. That is good for both the business community and the residents. So in 2023, just as a kind of benchmark, we've had 30 new businesses open and a few slated to maybe open still yet this year. So in excess of 30 businesses. A lot of that can be attributed to some of the work that the Chamber does because they make a very inviting environment for those businesses to come to our community. Along with that, the home growth has been phenomenal. We have a 480-some home development on the books and another one that's looking to come. That's 240 roughly homes. That's not yet been approved. We finalized our sister city agreement in 2023. That was a 2-year process, and it actually was closer to a 4-year total process with COVID slowing the process down. Having said we had a great year, we still have challenges. The revenues that the city have are not keeping pace with the rate of inflation that we're currently seeing. So council has undertook the job of trying to figure out how to adjust and amend the revenue stream, streamline purchasing, and economize on our spending so that our revenues are in line with our expenditures. Nobody likes to see taxes go up, and we're trying to avoid that to every extent possible. We also see the same problem that all the businesses seen in the employment pool. We used to give civil service exams and have 50, 75 people show up. Now we have 10, 12, 15. So the pool of applicants is shrinking currently, which means the amount of talent we have to draw from is limited. We do the best that we can and hire the most qualified employees we can so that we have the highest level of service possible. Our infrastructure is aging. You've seen a lot of construction projects going on. There's a lot of construction money available. So we're doing everything we can to secure those funds and improve the infrastructure. And I'll talk in a few minutes about some of the ongoing and upcoming projects. Along with that, maintaining that infrastructure, all those costs have escalated exponentially. The cost to do a road project or repair it, not necessarily replace it, just mill and overlay, is probably almost doubled in the last year. The cost of those products are enormous. And then one that's not new to us is healthcare. We continue to see 10 and 12, 14% increases in our healthcare. So we have to become creative in how we offer our healthcare package to our employees to provide them with adequate healthcare, yet at an affordable cost for the employees in the city. So I have some statistics about our different departments and the city in general. So we, as a city, employ 93 full-time employees and 32 part-time employees. So well over 100 people work for the city. The average age of an employee at the city is 42 years. So our workforce isn't necessarily aging, not necessarily young. The average seniority of an employee is 9 years. So people tend to stay with the city. We have some people that are approaching retirement age, and those will bring employees in with 1 year. We'll lose somebody with 30 or 35 or 40 years. And the average wage, people think public employment doesn't pay well. From the lowest to the highest, you take all of the employees, part-time, full-time, average wage in the city is $60,000, roughly. We have 26 employees in the police department, 31 full-time and 19 part-time in the fire department. We have 2 full-time employees dedicated to solely finance, 1 person in the HR department that also helps out in IT and finance. Water 6, wastewater 9, streets 8. The senior center is run by 3 employees. Economic development, building and zoning, they have 4 full-time employees and 2 part-time inspectors, and then a 3rd part-time person. Let's see. Civil community center, we have 2 receptionists and janitor. One of the receptionists part-time. We also have 7 elected officials, the mayor, a law director, a magistrate, clerk of courts, and clerk of council. So quite the employee base, a lot of people to keep track of, and those people are the heart of the city. They provide all the services, everything that any of the residents need. These 93 people that are full-time and the 26 part-time, I got 32 part-time. They're the ones that provide those services. So making sure that we take care of them as the managers of the city allows them to be able to take care of the businesses and the residents. Street projects. 2023, we've repaved Park Avenue. Harrison Avenue, we had a safety project, and that went from roughly the Stone intersection at McDonald's back to the West Road intersection at Crothers. It resulted in a safety barrier being placed near Stone Road to prevent left turns out of McDonald's, which is the 2nd highest accident point in the city. So those accidents now should not occur because left turns will not be occurring there. Harrison Avenue, a 2nd improvement project from Stone Road to New Haven Road. That project, we saw that going on, and we had an opportunity to extend that project down Harrison Avenue to roughly Jefferson, so that all of Harrison Avenue from West Road all the way down to State Street in the last handful of years has been newly paved. Jefferson, we had a project on Jefferson, and then West Road, the sidewalk was put in place, and that's not finished, but it's very near complete. It actually won't be fully complete till near May. There's street lighting and stuff that has to be put in place there. On the horizon, Dry Fork Road interchange, that's a 25 project, 2025. You might see some preliminary work occur in 24, and it's probably an 18 to 24 month build. So a very significant project. It will increase the overpass to 4 lanes, and the ramp on 274 towards Cincinnati will have metering. So during the highest volume hours, there'll be a red and green light rotation that will allow cars to flow onto the interstate without having congestion. Utility projects. So in 2023, we have a list of utility projects that we've done or are going to be doing. Our chemical room, which is very deficient currently, is being upgraded. for employee safety and to provide a higher quality of water to the residents, to more consistency in the chemical feeds, and more economy and better consumption of those chemicals. We put a new well in. We look at potentially rehabbing another well. We produce 1.5 million gallons per day of wells, of well water, and of that 900,000 gallons that comes back in through the sewage system be treated at the wastewater plant. The rest of it is either rejected during the softening process or consumed in a way that it doesn't go down the drain to the wastewater plant. For a city our size, you would not think that we need 800 inspections by the fire marshal every year, but we are on pace to exceed 800 this year. And those are mandatory inspections. He also does on-call inspections if somebody has a question or concern. Outside of that 800, they'll come in and they'll look at your business and identify on request issues that they might see that can be addressed for your business, or say, you're okay with this or you're not okay, if that's the concern of the business. So that's kind of the update that I have. And if there's any questions about any of that or something else in general, I'm happy to answer them. Okay. Well, thank you, Mark.
And we have something for the mayor here. Jolene is going to say a few words.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic. I was thinking of this morning, that back in 2015, I actually was on a video to get you elected as mayor. And from being a council member, Cindy Abrams kind of spearheaded that, and we got you elected mayor. And you've done so many things for the community and for the business community, and just this is an award for being an advocate for growth and prosperity for the business community, but also all of Harrison. So thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, well, now we will let the mayor-elect, Ryan Grubbs, say a few words.
Just real quick, the mayor has been absolutely instrumental in my growth and development on council. Excellent leader, friend, proud to call him friend. And, he's really set the example for a lot of us as new people have come on to council and really tried to dedicate their life to the service of the city. And I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize that and how instrumental it was for me in my development on council. And I'd just like to take another second to recognize him and thank him for all of his help, and especially in this transition. Obviously a lot of races across this country have become so competitive and almost separating communities when they go head to head. With Bill and I, this has been a great race. We still continue our friendship. He still continues to mentor me, and we continue to work on transition planning. So if you don't mind, please give him another round of applause for all his work. So a lot of what we have focused on in the past is really just going to be a true focus going forward. Economic development is instrumental in our community. Right now, what all our residents face is increasing taxes and the potential for increasing taxes across the board, not just here in Harrison, but everywhere they go. And one way to try to alleviate that burden on them here in the city is to try to continue to grow our business environment. Look for larger businesses that have larger payrolls and can alleviate some of that burden. Obviously, we have the privilege to have a company like JTM and CTS and all the others in this community that really help. But we need some more. We do. We need to go out and find those businesses that happen to be looking to grow and expand and try to draw them to Harrison. We have some good land available. It is extremely limited, so we do have to be strategic. We have to partner with those landowners to hopefully help them be a little patient in that process of development, and then help them bring good business here. That will help alleviate some of that burden on our residents. It's going to take some further development around infrastructure as well. For years, we have focused on resurfacing restructuring streets, such as Park Avenue project, being very strategic with our money in getting grants from the state of Ohio, whether it's a 80-20 grant where the city pays for 20% of it, or a 90-10 grant. But we may have to think outside the box going forward. We have to prepare infrastructure for larger businesses to come here, such as Dry Fork Road. We have a focus on completing that overpass and expanding that overpass, and we're working through that right now. But we're going to have to expand Dry Fork Road going clear down to open that up for transportation. We have to be able to open up access to the Madden Development gravel pit area and over off New Haven Road to allow access, attractive access, to bring good companies in. So we might have to reach out to our friends at the federal level and the state level to bring money back here. Unfortunately, I don't see Cindy Abrams here this morning, but I've already talked to her. I'm already knocking on Congressman Davidson's door to get time in front of him to try to bring money back. I look at communities like Mason, like Westchester, like Union Township over on the other side of Cincinnati, that get all this money to make development happen. Why can't Harrison do that? Why can't we get money coming back here to grow and expand roadways and get the development that we need to alleviate that burden off of our residents? So that infrastructure is going to be incredibly important, but it's not only for the commercial development. As I'm sure all of you are aware, as you travel around town, there are congestion points, whether it's Edgewood Road in New Haven, whether it's Short and Dry Fork, whether it's Carolina Trace and West, all of them are pain points in the city. And we have to be able to address it. I have plans to build a strategic initiative, sit down and talk with Jim Leslie in the utility department, as well as Matt and the economic development department to identify those areas and then figure out the plan, because we're going to need the plan in place before we go knocking on his door. We need to know the estimates on what those costs will be and really try to open up those corridors and those congested arteries in the city and really try to work to make that happen. I've told everybody what I really want to try to focus on, but those points, those arteries around town will also help in our commercial development as well. So one other area that I really think is important, the mayor started an initiative to try to develop relationships with our surrounding communities, our intergovernmental relationships with surrounding communities. I continue Really want to work to continue to try to develop that. Our relationships with Harrison Township, Crosby Township, Whitewater Township, Hamilton County, the State House, the federal level, are going to be instrumental in where we go to from here. We are the last area in Hamilton County where everybody wants to come. We have, 14,000 residents here. Businesses are going to want to come. They are. We want to find the businesses that are important to us, that can impact our community the most, alleviate the burdens the best, and all these relationships across the county, across the state, and across the country are going to be the key to starting this. So I want to continue the liaison, but also be a key instrumental part in that process as well. You know, sit down, have the conversations, and they may not be easy conversations, but they're going to be important conversations. And if we can't move them forward, it needs to be recognized, but the hope is always for the prosperity of our community. And I'm going to need your guys' help. The chamber has been, I sat on the board with Joe at the very beginning. When I came on the council, I stepped away from it. But the chamber is instrumental in every community, in every part of the country, all over. And in your feedback, your wisdom, because I don't claim to know everything. I just try to surround myself with good people, smart people. If I was really smart, I would have sat down and talked to Hank before I came up here, because that man can give a speech like no other. But you know, I'm going to lean on you all for your information, for your feedback, for your help and guidance. And hopefully, with the relationship that we have at this point, you will help. The last part that I do want to touch on real quick. Our employees, our departments in this city are absolutely incredible. Whether it's our police chief and his department, our fire chief and his department, Kim Downey has been absolutely instrumental in turning around our finance department and providing information for us to really have good information to make good decisions. Jim Leslie and his commitment to this city for so many years, it's unreal. And it is what will make my job easier in focusing in on some of these other key areas. Because I don't have to worry about the police department. I don't have to worry about the fire department. I don't have to worry about finance and getting good information, or whether a water line is broken or the 18th well pump going out. You know, I know they're taking care of it, and it will allow me to work with Matt Eisenbraun and finding some of these key businesses and catering to those relationships. And I do want to go backwards real quick, because you all have built Harrison. You will be the focus as well. It's not just going to be new business. That's very important to say. You have spent your time, dedicated your time, resources to getting us this far. We will focus on you and make sure that we're here for you in all situations. I do have a cell phone number for y'all and email, and always feel free to reach out to me on absolutely anything. But back to our employees, you know, they are the foundation of what makes this city great. I hate to be ranked in the classification of a politician, because I'm just a Harrison kid that loves my city, and wants to see it prosper. But I'm in a position to help it grow in a strategic fashion and kind of guide it as we go forward. And hopefully we'll be able to recognize our employees and dedicate time, focus, and energy to them so they feel honored, respected in what they do, so they continue to have long careers here in Harrison. And not only that, they talk to others in the industry, so they want to come here as well. And I think that's going to be incredibly important, that we draw top talent, continue to draw top talent to Harrison, so we continue to provide excellent service across the board. With that, I'll open it up to any questions. If anybody has any questions for me, if you don't want to bring it out now, always feel free to reach out to me. All my information is online. But does anybody have any questions? Okay. Thank you.
Congressman Davidson was planning on joining us, but unfortunately had to stay in Washington and do some work. So he did send in a video that we're going to play. Hopefully we have the audio and everything set up so we can all hear. What's that?
Hi, I'm Congressman Warren Davidson. As most of you have probably heard, I was going to be in Ohio this week, and then our calendar changed. Frankly, we spent about a month working through picking a new Speaker of the House. Speaker Mike Johnson is somebody that a lot of people hadn't heard of, and as people do hear of him, I think they're mostly encouraged. And I think it proves one of the things that I've said for a long time. Once I got to Congress, I found that there really are more good people here than I would have believed. And frankly, if I were one of you watching this, I'd be skeptical myself, but there are a lot of good folks here. I think Mike Johnson shows that. He's shown that you can be conservative and kind. He's well liked. And as the process continued on, after a series of people who couldn't quite get the votes, it really was amazing to watch kind of the bitterness and anger and frustration kind of culminate, and everybody just kind of had a sense of peace and said, yeah, we could get behind Mike Johnson. And that's kind of been the spirit. It has brought a little more focus, but it hasn't solved the problem. We are very tight on votes. We have essentially a 4-seat majority and barely clinging to control of the House. Nevertheless, in the House, you govern with a majority. So whoever has the majority party gets the speakership, if they can work together. And that's been one of my points is, we only have a majority if we do work together. It hasn't changed the process that appropriations bills are tough. One of the most bipartisan things in Congress is spending more money than we have, and that means there are some bigger government Republicans that sometimes vote with Democrats, and then small government folks usually lose out. That's how we're 33+ trillion in debt, and we're in the appropriation season. That's a big part of what broke. People say, how did everything break in the first place? A lot of it had to do with appropriations or how we spend money. So, Speaker McCarthy had proposed that we do a continuing resolution, a short-term funding measure, but he didn't want to change the calendar. And that didn't get reported very well, but ultimately he was asking for a 45-day continuation to November 17th. But the first 2 weeks, we weren't supposed to be in session. And this week that we're here, we weren't supposed to be in session. So 6-week, effectively maybe 7-week CR, and 3 of those weeks you weren't going to be in session. So people no longer felt that his commitment to appropriations was serious or even sincere in some people's case. And so that really is what led to Speaker McCarthy being removed as Speaker. That's ultimately what blocked Steve Scalise, because the majority leader schedules the floor. And that's where we are now. We've picked up trying to get back on pace with our appropriations, and we're moving into this November 17th deadline, trying to work through how we do it. As I'm speaking now, they've just called votes on the floor. I have a little time to finish this video, but later today I'm going to be meeting with the speaker in a small group to kind of lay out some possible strategies that would avoid a shutdown on November 17th, but keep us in a good position, hopefully, to avoid, a Christmas CR, a Christmas omnibus, which has kind of become the sacred tradition here in Washington, D.C. Not so sacred. I would consider it pretty profane. And that's going to be one of the real measures of success. Can we come together and work to do that? So I wish I could be there with you. It's always nice to see folks and hear from you, not just in a Q&A format, but one-on-one and all that. So I look forward to getting back in Harrison as soon as I can. But I do know we got a few questions sent in, and so one of those was actually on Republican unity. And like I said a little bit ago, we only have a majority if we work together, and we don't always work together. I mean, both parties are effectively a form of coalition government. No secret, there are a range of factions within the Republican Party, and how we work together is really important. And it's like anything, the way you disagree often is as important as whether you do disagree, so that you can work together in a collaborative way. And I think Mike Johnson has really set a great tone so far in that. It hasn't made everybody somehow get along better, but because of necessity and also because of his demeanor, he's like, all right, let me hear from people. How do you guys think we should get through that? So I think it's setting a good tone. I'm hopeful that we can find a way, but it is going to be tough to be perfectly unified, because that's really what it requires. I mean, you got to be like 98% unified when you can only lose 4 votes. But there's a lot that we agree on, and every once in a while you'll find some things that you agree on with Democrats, and that's always appreciative. I wish there were more things that we do, but I'm glad to be working on privacy and FISA reform with some Democrats. So in that sense, it'd be great if the country was more unified. Frankly, broadly, Congress is unified on standing with Israel, as an example. Now, what's getting the headlines is the handful of members that aren't, and that probably merits attention and headlines, because it's noteworthy, because historically the United States has been very much aligned with Israel. And nevertheless, you can see some of the protests around the country. Some people aren't, and apparently a handful of members are here to represent those folks. But I think the sentiment in our district's clear. We stand with Israel, and certainly I do personally. When you look, what can we do about Social Security? Look, it wasn't structured properly in the first place, but just because somebody launches a defective product doesn't mean they get to renege on their commitments, and that's really where the federal government is. The way Social Security is funded and structured has problems. We're going to have to work on that for future generations, but the federal government has to keep its promises. And for seniors that have been promised Social Security and Medicare, the only option is as good as it is today or better. There certainly can't be any diminishment of what has been promised. That's been my position all along from the time I ran for office. And the encouraging thing is you hear all these stories, oh, they're going to cut this, that, or the other thing. I haven't really seen a serious proposal to do that. And that's why Joe Biden was booed when he tried to say that he did say that during the State of the Union, and he was booed for it, because it's really dishonest. Let's see, what else? Oh, energy production. Yeah, H.R. 1, we called it H.R. 1 for a reason. That was our first bill, because one of the first big policy bill, priority bill, was to increase domestic energy production, because Joe Biden was so bad on energy policy. We needed to be better on it, and we need to change direction there. This is part of why appropriations is so big. We've got our own individual bills, but one thing for sure, we have to fund the government. And so the way we do that with H.R. 1 is going to be incredibly important, because it puts strings attached to the money. None of these funds may be used to do X, and these funds are only available if Y, for example. So that's where appropriations has become so high stakes, because in a divided government, there are only so many ways that you can get bills that the president has to sign, and appropriations is going to be, one of the key things. Nevertheless, H.R. 1 is our top priority. The other one's H.R. 2 was border security. We know that's broken, but that's where the appropriations process has to come in on that. We'll continue to weigh in on how to get H.R. 1 and H.R. 2 across the finish line in their entirety, but certainly key components of it are part of this appropriations process. I think in closing, as we look at events this week and we look at events around the world, Our country has been made and kept free because men and women were willing to wear our nation's uniforms. I was honored to be able to do that and serve both as an enlisted infantryman and as an infantry officer, including in the 75th Ranger Regiment. It was an incredible honor to get to serve my country then. It's an incredible honor to get to do it now, but I want to say a special thanks to our veterans as we go into Veterans Day this weekend. Thanks for hosting them and showing them some great appreciation. I also want to thank Mayor Bill Neyer for his service and as he's outgoing, and congratulate the Mayor-elect Ryan Grubbs on coming in, and wish you great success. Our office, as always, is anxious to be helpful. I'm trusting that either Ben Thaler or Mike Robison or both are there. If not, please reach out to our office anytime on our Green Township office, and you can always find us online at davidson.house.gov. So davidson.house.gov. Thanks again. Wish I could be there in person, and hope you understand. God bless you all.
I know Mike is here. So he'd like to come up and say a few words.
How's everybody this morning? Just want you to know that I'm not somebody that just came from the middle of nowhere and has no idea where Harrison, Ohio is. So until I was 6, I grew up here. If you know State Avenue, there's a UDF, Sunoco gas station right there, Sunset Avenue. You go back in that neighborhood, there's a street called Weathervane. That's where I grew up until I was 6. On the way here, I came Campbell Road, and I went past the Harrison Little League junior baseball field, and I remember wearing my orange. Everybody had a different color, jersey, and had my orange jersey, and I think that's probably somewhere in a closet still, and my wife keeps telling me to get rid of all of those things. But so I went to Harrison Elementary for kindergarten. My brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and niece and nephew live in Parks of Whitewater, so I grew up going to Miami Whitewater Park. I mean, that was all we did, was go there basically and hang out on the old wood ship and fall down and get scrapes and scratches and whatever. So Harrison is a great community, fantastic place to raise your family and live, but I'm excited to be here for Congressman Davidson. Also, it was mentioned the word politician, and I probably haven't said this in about 13 years. Joe might remember this, but back in the day, I looked up the definition of politics or politician. Anybody know the definition of politician? So my education told me to break down the word poly. So the Latin poly means many. Ticks are blood-sucking parasites. Politicians are many blood-sucking parasites. There's a difference between a politician and a public servant. And so we see people that are in it for themselves and those that are in it for the right reasons. Congressman Davidson didn't join the Army at the age of 19 right out of high school because he thought, you know what, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, whatever, I might have an opportunity to be an elected official. He did it because it was in his blood, it's in his DNA, he wanted to serve our country. I mean, he went to the Old Guard, the 101st Airborne Division, 75th Ranger Regiment. His commanding officers, when he was an infantryman, looked at him and said, we see leadership skills in you, and actually nominated him for West Point. So he went to West Point and graduated towards the top of his class. He didn't seek public office. People came to him and said, hey, when Representative Boehner, Speaker Boehner left office and there was an opening, there was a runoff, that people came and said, you know what, you've run your own business. You know what it's like to make payroll and deal with taxes and deal with regulation and all that stuff. You've served in the Army, in our armed forces. Wouldn't it be great to have someone like that that has real life experience serving us in Congress? So they came to him and recruited him and said, you need to run for this spot. I think there were, I don't even remember, 12, 15 candidates that ran for that special runoff. And he was elected, and he's been serving ever since in the last 6 years. So it's an honor to get to work for someone like him that is just down to earth, just a good, decent man that really wants to make a difference. And I was talking to Mayor-elect Grubbs before his mentality, his approach, his ideology, where he is very much in line with Harrison, Ohio. You know, this is a great fit, and so with this new part of the district that now comes down into the 8th Congressional District, basically I-75 west, other than the city of Cincinnati and Delhi, but everything else is now part of the 8th District, and it fits very, very well. So, you know, I want to be a resource here. We did open up an office in Greene Township, and that was sort of where they take, you know, population and look around and say, well, based on where the new part of the district is, because we've got Sharonville and Springfield and, you know, all over the place, that was pretty centrally located, so that's where they chose an office. But the idea is that, you know, we're accessible to you and that we can, you know, be here and be out. You know, I've met with the new economic development director, Matt. You know, we're going to continue to, we've toured a lot of the businesses around here, and we want to be engaged in part of this. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but otherwise just wanted to introduce myself and let you know that, you know, we're here. We hope that the district stays. That was a whole other thing with redistricting and whether they were going to change the lines, but it looks like at least for the next 3.5 years, this is the way where, you know, the 8th district will be, and we'll kind of see what happens from there. But any questions that you have on Congress or anything that you thought you might want to ask Congressman Davidson but didn't get to, but otherwise I'm just, you know, again, happy to be here. Anything? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. I want to thank Mike and the rest of Congressman Davidson's staff for helping us with Plan B here this morning. As you heard, he would preferred to be here, and I'm sure we weren't the only engagement and appointment here in town that he had to cancel or reschedule. So we look forward to having you back again. All of you, thank you for being here. I did want to mention also thank you to ICRC TV, who are helping us reach a larger audience outside of those of us in the room here today by putting our presentation today on local TV and social media. So they are great partners with the Chamber. In fact, they help us produce a show every month called Highlight Harrison. Excuse me. And I hope that you all consider promoting your business with our show, Highlight Harrison. So thank you to them. Thank you all for being here. And if you would, please take a look at our Chamber calendar on our website, greaterharrisoncc.com. Our next big engagement will be our annual celebration and awards, and that will be January 25th here at the VFW. So look for more information coming out about that in the next few weeks. So I hope to see you again soon, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.